host, Josh. And today we've got Wes Denny. Actually, technically it's your show. It's The Den. But, you know, I'll be the host. So
Okay, I'll let you be.
All right, thanks. It's my house, my host, you know. Just a big, nice white sheet behind us. So, all right. So today is an exciting day. If you are a up-and-coming wannabe or want to grow your business in the real estate area,
we're grab some money.
Make money, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to do a step-by-step process on how to do this.
I'm excited.
So I know very little. Wes is the expert here, so I'm gonna ask the questions and I'm gonna let him walk you through the process. And then in the description below, we will actually put in like classes that we recommend, he recommends, and then other things that you will need along your journey. So, all right, Wes, the first question is, why should somebody consider this as an option for a career? What makes let's start with residential first. So what makes residential a viable option for someone's career?
That's a great question, because I asked that myself when I first got into real estate, because before I was in construction and working on properties and watched people that made a lot of money in real estate. So I was like, well, let's get into the investing side, but then saw how much money you can make in the real estate sales process. So, start from finish when somebody wants to buy a house and, you have a $100,000 house and you make 3% of that. So that's $3,000. So the money's really good, but the process is what you have to learn. But that's something that can be learned and taught to you during the whole the whole buying and selling.
Yeah, and one of the things that I find really cool is you're not really limited. Like if you go to a 9 to 5, they're going to say you make $35,000 and that's what you're going to make. If you're in real estate, you could say, I only want to pay for my family's vacation this year, and we want to go somewhere and it's $5,000. So you could sell a house and there you go, you've got your vacation money.
Right.
Whereas, you and I, we prefer to have yachts, so we're going to want to sell every house we can.
Helicopters, private jets.
Don't they come with the yacht? I thought they did. So how long does it take for somebody to, from start to I can now legally sell my friend's house without and actually go through the paperwork and sign it and stuff like that?
Legally?
Obviously you've got to go under a brokerage and stuff like that first, but so just from zero, I've got nothing, to I am now licensed and working under a brokerage, how do I, what are the processes?
I mean, the processes are pretty simple, but if somebody doesn't know the process of getting your real estate license and becoming a part of a brokerage, it's very complicated and a lot of people just don't do it because of that. So that's why I'm doing this with Josh, because he's got no experience and I want to be able to help the inexperienced learn how to get into it. So the process of start to finish could be from a week to a whole year. So
it's very much if I have the time, if I want to put it night classes type thing, I could jump in and just do it in the evenings.
Yeah, you could make it a 3-month process. You can make it a year.
Yeah.
Some of my people that I connect with, they're still doing it 2 years later.
Wow.
So
now, let's say I go a year, does that mean I have to then pay more money because I have to re-up my license or I have to re-up certain classes? You know how sometimes college classes fall off. Or is there a time limit?
An expiration?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually an expiration date on your class. So let's just say you start your class on January 1st. The class actually runs out on the end of the year. So 1 year after you start the class, it actually runs out. So you pay an extension fee, and that's usually minimal. So that I've had somebody have 2 extensions so far.
Okay, so I can do this in my spare time. Now, are there any obligations once I've become official licensed real estate agent? Are there any restrictions? What do I have to know for then like year 2 or year 3 that are coming up? Like, are there things I need to save up for? Are there requirements I'm supposed to meet? You know, with EXP, you say one of the requirements is you have to sell a couple houses a year. You know, so is that in every brokerage?
Actually, in any brokerage, it varies. So, like when I had my own brokerage, and it was a boutique brokerage, and I didn't really have a minimum.
Well, if you
And-
didn't sell, you didn't make any money.
Right, exactly. So when I first got into real estate, I would have gotten my license a couple of years before, because I went to college, went for 4 years and got my degree, but I would have got my license way before that. And because I got my license about 8 months after I graduated college. So it was something that I really was passionate about, and I wanted to get my license, but people were like, hey, you need to sell so many deals to be able to keep your license. Well, that wasn't true, and that's something that is a false thing that
So
people
really,
pass
you
along.
can get your license and just sit on it for a year.
You can
or
sit
like-
on it as long as you
Yeah.
want, as much as you want to pay for it.
Well, I
Yeah.
guess that's true. Yeah. So every year you have to re-up your license. Now, is that based on like, let's say I graduate December 20th. Now, does that mean January 1st I have to re-up my license that's only 11 days old? Or do I re-up by December 20th of the next year? Or is that based on state?
So it's in Michigan, it's every
Yeah.
3 years.
Every
in
3 years?
October
Okay.
31st, you have to re-up it.
Spooky time, huh?
Yeah, October. Yeah,
Is that the year that everyone like gives out less candy?
yeah, yeah. Or less money.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. But you've always asked me, hey, like, what's the process? Like, what different things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of getting your license. I know I said, hey, it could take a week to a year to 2 years sometimes, but when you go after your license, there's different things.
Oh, true. So I can go into residential.
Mhm.
I can go into commercial.
Yep.
I can go into, what are the other ones?
Oh, that's
That's
well,
just it?
commercial has a lot of different
Yeah,
variables
that's true.
with like just sections that you can get into. That's a niche, or you can do it all. But a lot of times you just say,
What if I want to go into like low income housing deals? Is that like a completely different paperwork and like Section
No.
8 and stuff like that versus like I want to sell this multi-million-dollar business over here?
no, no, it's just the same. The multi-million-dollar business or the building, sorry, business is a totally different animal.
Yeah.
So,
Very true.
but if you want to do that, it's the same paperwork, but I mean, you can use different types of documents.
Okay.
But those types of documents can be used on $1 million deal or a $50,000 deal.
Perfect. So, what would you recommend for a class? Like, is there a certain spot or like a certain amount of time that you feel is like the average person spends like 2 weeks in this class, and then they get a very well-rounded
Yeah.
understanding versus like the guy that flies through it and does it in a week?
Well, you could do that. You can actually fly through it and be done in like 24 hours. Or not 24, but 40 hours with breaks or whatever. But you can be done in less than 2 days. I was done.
I'm
with
worried about
my-
that person having too much caffeine.
Yeah.
Like,
I had to
down
load up
another
on
one.
it because I really wanted to get my broker's license. But so that, I mean, I got my class done in an in-class setting. So you go in, you listen to the teacher, you ask questions, it's live, and you get to, I mean, see them,
well,
the
and
desk.
you also get to network.
Right.
They're your competitors, but they might be selling a property or might be buying a property
in the
that
future,
you need.
yeah.
And so that is a huge advantage, I think. And then you get to network with your professor, who's probably further ahead
Oh yeah.
than you are, and so
Yeah.
you get to learn new things.
One of my my professor was one of the biggest flippers in Genesee County.
Okay.
And there's a few, obviously, but
Yeah.
it's one of them.
Yeah.
So, and I got to learn a lot, and I got him I got his number. I got to, get to talk to him, ask questions still. But even though we're not a part of the same brokerage, so
Well, and that I think is really huge, is having those friends in other places, because oftentimes I'll see you post, hey, is anyone looking to buy X, Y, and Z, or looking to sell X, Y, and Z? And I'm sitting there like, nope, I'm happy with my place. But at the same time, if you're like in this business, you can answer those questions, or you could help your friends out. And like one of those things, hey, does anyone have 2 eggs? I'm not paying you for the 2 eggs that you bring over, but if you sell a house for me, like, you're getting money. Like,
Yeah.
there's money on the table here. So every year or every 3 years you gotta re-up. How extensive is that exam? Like, should I be preparing for this? Is it like, the board exam?
Right.
What's a little bit of that?
That's a great question too. How to study, and that's something that came difficult to me with studying, preparing for exams, and I mean, I suck at taking exams, and school wasn't my top
Yep, I know.
thing growing up. So,
We
but
did go to school together. We had one class together with Spanish.
see, so it's very extensive with that. If you know how to study, if you're very good at that and taking tests and stuff, it'll be a good process for you.
Okay.
And I won't say it's super hard, but I won't say it's super easy, because some people have a different story.
Yeah. So let's say I go and I take it and I fail. Am I done? Am I like lynched? I gotta go like
Yep.
driver's training. You gotta
did
start
all
from ground
that,
one.
You spent all that money for nothing.
Yeah. Like, how many retakes am I allowed to take? Is it like, do I have to have my final retake with my grand score in on the 31st, or,
Right.
maybe I'm like really making people anxiety high for this test. It could be nothing.
Yeah,
But-
I have a lot of people that just ask me, and they're like, hey, I'm stressed out. Like, what if I don't pass it? Well, I didn't pass it my first time, and it's the first class that they have after you take the first exam that you see that you can schedule the next day if you want to. If they have a class the next, why did I keep on saying class? But
It's an exam.
Yeah,
yes.
right. The exam. So I took my exam and did not pass. I went home, rescheduled it for 3 days later, because that was the first class between when I took the exam and when they had an availability of that next exam. So that exam is a third party. They watch over you. They have a bunch of computers, and they give you a time limit on the top right hand corner or whatever on the computer, and they're like, hey, you have this many hours to be able to finish this exam. So then you're freaking out, but you just go through, and I mean, if you studied and whatever, if you have a prior experience, it's actually a lot easier, because if you have a dad, an uncle, or whatever in real estate, it's really good for you to connect with him and maybe go to him and ask for advice. Go to some of his showings with him and kind of see some of his deals.
Just kind of learn from them. I mean, it's not like
Yep.
the ACT. If you have like 30 duck eggs and
Yeah.
it takes 1 minute to cook one duck egg, how many does it take
Oh my
to cook?
gosh,
Yeah.
I failed that. No, but it's you can take it right away.
Okay.
So in as many times as you want to pay $75.
Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah. And that's the Michigan rate, or is that the nationwide rate?
Well, that I don't know what other
Okay.
places are. So
All right.
I know.
So Michigan, $75 or so.
I think Tennessee was like 45 or something
Okay.
like that.
So it's cheaper to fail in Tennessee and then come to Michigan.
But I passed my Tennessee one, so
Is it straightforward information? Like, is this stuff I would know from just working on the job, or is this like extremely, like, we use this shorthand code and you need to know this stuff? What am I? Do I need to learn the lingo and like a whole nother language now?
Well, yeah, you definitely need to learn a new language, because I mean, these exams, they trick you. I mean, they mean to just put this in front of you and say, hey, fail. Here you go. Here's a test to fail. So they give you questions that some are stuff that you have to actually calculate
Okay.
different things like mortgage, your payment, how much is your payment, and different things. So I have a calculator that I use, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. But you have to learn it for your
Yeah.
exam.
Do they make you break down all the percentages? Like, all right, if this house is selling for like 2,700,000, like break it all down to like some decimal points.
They do give you, hey, if a house sold for 200,000, what's your
your cut?
commission?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and that's good stuff to know, because I think the other thing that we should really discuss is, job payouts. If you go to someone and they're like, I'll pay you $35,000, you're like, okay, I'm going to make 26,000 because of all the taxes and everything like that. Well, are you able to do what you want to do with that amount of money? And I think that's, a lot of times we see real estate agents and they're the ones with the nice cars. They're the ones with the nice houses. They're the ones that are like, wow, you can make a lot of money. But they're also the ones that are probably working odd hours. I know, like, we go out on the boat and we're still taking phone calls on the weekend. It's Saturday. I want to be on the boat with my friends, and we're still making money taking phone calls and stuff
we're on
like
the
that.
boat with 3 realtors, and we're all on the phone together.
Exactly.
Not the same deal,
And
but
I'm trying to play euchre. Come on, people. But it's a lot of that, and like when we get working towards like a bigger goal and stuff like that, we have more drive and stuff like that. Do you find that you're pushing yourself every year to be like, okay, I did, $100,000 last year, and now I want to do $200,000, and then basically you're talking, you have to double your sales, or you have to just go to a more expensive neighborhood. And
hey, there's actually some people that do that. They do go to a different area because it is more expensive, and you can sell more expensive houses.
And the beauty of it's like I'm registered in my state. So I can go to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I can drive 8 to 10 hours away, and I can still sell some of the nicest houses, nicest properties. I'm not tied to my county or something like that. Now, obviously, if I wanted to go further south to Ohio or Indiana or Illinois, I'm kind of in trouble. But what would you say is one of the advantages to being a real estate agent over working a 9 to 5? You have to take phone calls on the boat, but what would you say one of the advantages is?
The advantage is like one big thing is financial. I mean, you can make a lot of money making, working maybe 2 hours a day, or eventually that 2 hours a day though. It could be where you were selling 100 homes a year, and you have other agents that are actually buyers agents, sellers agents working for you, so you can be on the golf course and you're doing sales.
Exactly.
So, but I mean, you have some of these agents that are still producing high numbers like 10 million, 15 million, but they're doing by themselves, and they're working crazy hours because they don't have that, they can't, or they don't have the ability to be able to make that step up to hire, not necessarily hire, but find a buyer's agent to be able to say, hey, buyer's agent, go show these homes, I'll take 50%. You get the other 50%, but then you have your splits.
And really, you're taking 50% of 3% too.
Right.
So at that point, you don't want to be giving off a $30,000 property. I can't even afford a round of golf for that commission check.
Right. Well, but then the thing with that is like it's scalable.
True.
To where, like, yeah, you might be making less money per sale, but you have the freedom, and you also have the ability to get more, like, not pay attention, but just focus on creating leads for your buyer's agents and your seller's agents to be able to exponentially grow that, and then also possibly grow into other markets.
So I'm going to butt in real quick, because there is a term that you have thrown around for the last minute and a half, and I'm sure the audience is screaming at us like, what is this word? So when we have a real estate agent, then you have your brokerage or your broker, but then you're talking about having sub people underneath of me that are buyers and sellers. Like, aren't I buying and selling? So what is a buyer's agent and what is a seller's agent? you're basically talking like they're affiliate programs beneath you that
Right. It's
or
almost
like employees.
hey, pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
You know, but no, it's not a pyramid scheme. It's a pyramid to where, hey, you want to make more money, so I'm gonna bring on people, but then you make money off of that agent, and then the broker makes money off
Yep.
of you and him. So
And actually, the broker makes money off of everybody because it's the broker that really puts his license on the line. Because if any deal goes wrong legally, it's on him.
right,
And then
it's the broker's license that's
so-
held underneath that brokerage.
Yeah. So he's taking a lot of risk employing you, and so he doesn't want you to be screwing up all the time. So
So yeah, he's got to be like it's got to be a checks and balances thing. It's the way the government allows all of us agents to be licensed.
Yep. So real quick, a seller agent, what is their job? Like in one sentence, what's a seller's agent?
The seller's agent is they go to the house, get the listing, and they put a sign out front. They take phone calls for the listing, and they might even show the house to a buyer. So they might
Okay.
even be able to be a buyer's agent too, but
And then the buyer agent brings potential customers to the location to show them the house and to finish the deal.
So the leads that I was telling you before about, hey, I'm going to spend money on whether it's Zillow leads or Facebook leads, you get leads from those sites and you take those leads and pass them to the buyer's agent.
Okay.
So those leads are buyer's leads. So that buyer's agent takes those leads and calls them.
Yep.
Maybe like it might be like a 10% turnover rate where, hey, I turn over 10% into clients and maybe get 3 to 5% of the sales, and them to like get them to close.
So can I make that my kid? Or does this person also have to be registered and licensed and gone through all of the exam stuff as well?
So the kid, yes, you can make it your kid, but they need to be licensed.
They need to be licensed. Okay, well that answers that question. So I didn't know if I could just be like, "Hey kid, you're doing nothing. Go
No,
go sell
I mean,
a house for me."
if you're doing anything like activity-wise with real estate, mostly, there's obviously some stuff that a non-licensed person can do, but there's very little, and that's why a lot of assistants get their license.
Okay.
So a lot of assistants like taking phone calls, because when you take a phone call of a buyer or a seller,
Yep.
you can give them information about the market because you're a professional. And if you give that information out to somebody, hey, yeah, it's 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet. If you give that information, you're not licensed, you can get in real big trouble.
Interesting. All right, so get your license, folks. That is the first step. And then if you have kids, make them get their license too. Then you got your whole workforce right there, all in your house. So what is there? Like we joke around about like having our kids do work for us and stuff like that. Is there a advantage or a disadvantage to having like you got Asher? Is it worth it to put him underneath of you in your office, or does that start making some red flags or start causing some problems because now you've got family working very closely with each other and stuff like that?
It actually doesn't make any
Okay.
red flags whatsoever. It's a lot of people do that, and I've seen so many agents and brokers and stuff that get their son licensed for just growth, because they understand the market and they've already built a business of like referrals and different things. So when that mom or dad leaves the business, selling, buying, and helping those people out, when they actually retire, because I'm never going to retire, but you can pass those referrals onto your son and get a cut, whatever, or hey, I want you to buy me out, whatever. But you can make a lot of money that way.
Okay. So you can make this an entire family thing, and then it'll just be
You can
called
make it an empire.
Wes Denny's Empire of Selling Houses for people. All right. Well, I feel like that is a pretty good understanding of the first steps and a little bit more of becoming a real estate agent
the base.
and making making a choice, because it is a matter of, one, you'd get to pick your hours to an extent.
Yeah.
You do have a lot of financial freedom, but you also have a lot of legal paperwork on your side, and so you got to make sure you know how to do that. But then you also have like this opportunity. So if you only want to make $5,000 to $10,000 extra a year, you can do that without sacrificing an entire year. You can go on vacation or things like that. And if you want to do a lot more, then you have opportunities there. And you've really got statewide opportunities where a lot of people, you open up a coffee shop, your distance is 10, 15 miles, unless
Right.
you can start selling your coffee in bags online, and then you have to build that. And so
Distribution.
yeah, and like there's just a whole different market to it. And really, there's next to no overhead when you become a real estate agent, because maybe you have an office, but you could be like
Not anymore. Not much.
most Americans
anymore.
have like
Yeah.
a home office.
Yeah.
And you get to write off some of that on your taxes and stuff like that, so that's huge.
Obviously, yeah, you're not a accounting professional, but
Yeah.
yeah. But that is
Yeah,
a
you
very good thing that
yeah.
I do write off a lot of stuff for that.
Correct.
So.
Yeah. I know I write off space all the time for my stuff. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on your own show. I appreciate it. It's so nice to have
can I
you
say?
here. So this is the West Denny, folks. Let me tell you. So, all right. Well, we will see you guys on the next episode, and we're going to talk about another avenue of how to make more money in residential. I gotta get my R words correct here. Residential income. And then we'll also be doing another series on how to focus on commercial real estate and how that benefits you as well. All right, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Den.